welcome back to Riksha Vibhavana, the Tropical Vedic Podcast, where we take a closer look at the astrology of the week ahead. Our focus is the week of December 21st through December 27th, a week with surprisingly sober astrology weather as we gear up for the festive season. Kind of energetic current, much more conducive to strategic planning than celebration and revelry. With the recent solstice and the sun's ingress into Capricorn, we arrive at the point of greatest stillness in the solar year, the place where light reaches its maximum and begins quietly to turn. In the northern hemisphere, this is the winter solstice. In the southern hemisphere, the summer solstice. In both cases, the symbolism is the same, a pivot of direction. In the northern hemisphere, this is the beginning of the auspicious Uttarayana, the bright half of the year, when the days start growing longer, luminosity increases, and nights grow shorter. In the sage Lagada's Rigveda Jyotisha, the most ancient available strata of the Vedic literature devoted to the astral sciences, the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere marks the beginning of the Vedic year, and we're off to a sobering start. Capricorn energy is fully activated this week, and it is not sentimental. It is grounded, practical, and resolute. This is the terrain of Saturn, the taskmaster of the zodiac, the one who governs time, responsibility, consequences, and endurance. After the intensity and stripping force of last week's new moon, the atmosphere now asks a simple but demanding question: what are you willing to work for? The sun's movement into Capricorn marks one of the most important solar transitions of the year. Capricorn is not about beginnings in the obvious sense. It's about foundation. It governs the slow ascent of light after the darkest point, reminding us that real growth is incremental, earned through consistency rather than transient inspiration. Capricorn is the cardinal earth sign of the zodiac. Cardinal means it initiates or launches, but it does so through structure, through earth, through solidity. Capricorn rewards discipline, focus, and strategy, and is Mars's favorite sign, the latter sign of exaltation. Accordingly, Capricorn supports strategic planning, long-term vision, responsibility that matures the soul, commitment to what can actually be built. Yes, in the fable of the tortoise and the hare, Capricorn is the slow but determined winner of the race, the tortoise. With Mars currently exalted in Capricorn, we are reminded that when raw drive is disciplined by wisdom and patience, action becomes effective rather than reactive. Mars supplies the force and Saturn supplies the form. Together they describe constructive power, the ability to take effort and turn it into something that lasts. And all of this unfolds in the immediate wake of last week's new moon in Mula Nakshatra, a lunation that does not tolerate excess or falsehood. Mula is the root. It strips away inauthentic ambition, inherited but untested narratives, superficial identities, and structures built on unstable ground. What survives Mula is essential. It is the essence, and often somewhat uncomfortable. Capricorn now follows with a different demand. Now that the excess has been cleared, what will you commit to building? This is why this week may feel quieter but heavier. The energy is no longer about breaking things down. It is about taking responsibility for what remains. And in the week's story, Venus features quite prominently. On December 24th, Venus enters Capricorn, deepening the Capricorn concentration and shifting the tone of desire, relationship, and value. Venus in Capricorn is not indulgent, it is selective. Affection becomes more measured, pleasure becomes more intentional and practical. Relationships are assessed not for intensity alone, but for longevity and above all, integrity. When it comes to the Venusian side of life, this is a transit that asks us, is this sustainable? Is this worth the effort? Does this align with where I am actually going? Venus here favors maturity, loyalty and commitment, but only if these are real. At the same time as Venus enters the sign of Capricorn, Venus forms a square aspect to Neptune, making this the most delicate and potentially confusing aspect of the week. Neptune dissolves boundaries, Capricorn builds them. Under this aspect, we may encounter idealization in relationships, blurred financial judgment, spiritual longing that risks bypassing practical responsibility, disappointment when fantasy meets reality. This is not an inherently negative influence, but it is a testing one. The invitation here is not to abandon dreams, but to bring them into practical form, to ask whether our ideals are supported by action, structure, and truth. Compassion must now be paired with discernment. If all of this sounds like an anticlimax for the festive season, take heart that next weekend's full moon in Cancer will mark a moment of great emotional release. With this then, we come to the end of our look at the astrology of the week ahead. The light has turned. The work now begins quietly, deliberately, and with intention. Thank you for tuning in with me. I have been your host, Kavi. You can find me on Instagram at Eye of the Vedas. And if you feel called to explore your own chart in greater depth, I offer personalized readings and one-on-one study through my page. Wishing you a wonderful week ahead. Hare Krishna.